Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us here on the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Chet Landry, joined by Doctors Jim and Janine Fox. Good morning.
Good morning.
Got Angie here with us?
Good morning.
Yes.
You're not going anywhere. You've become part of the fabric. So Angie Cowan is here with us as well. You can ask us any questions that come up about today's topic, which is autophagy, which sounds like a big confusing word. So I personally know what it is because I've forced myself into autophagy more times than not. It's good for you to do, but tell us what autophagy is.
Well, it came up because it was a real cool article that was published June 18th.
What is autophagy first? Let's talk
what is it?
What is autophagy?
Well, autophagy is a kind of a cleanup process that the body does. Okay, so we've got cells that are hanging around. They're not really doing all they should, They're getting old, grumpy, one thing or another. So the body says, okay, let's clean this mess up. And so it sends in these things called I forgot how to pronounce this stupid thing, but anyhow, it's a big thing. It globs up things, and then it sends in this stuff called lysosome, and it eats it up. And when it eats it up, it keeps the good stuff, trashes the rest. That's kind of autophagy, in a nutshell.
So it's a reboot. It's a Control-Alt-Delete. It's a reboot of everything inside.
It's more of a detoxing of the bad cells.
Yeah.
Recycling system.
Yeah,
recycling system. Yeah, recycling. Yeah.
So if you have those cells that are not functioning optimally in your system, can other things attach to them and make them do bad stuff in your body?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like illnesses, cancers, things.
Yeah.
Like if cancer is floating around somewhere and not doing anything, but it finds these cells that are not optimally performing, it can attach and make them perform the way it wants to.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's one reason we decided to do the show. I mean, autophagy, we've known about it and talked about it for years at the office, but actually it's one topic I don't think we've ever done a show on. And to find something that we've never done a show in 10 years on is hard.
It's impressive to actually find something.
We actually found something,
We were reading an article that was about a new thought on possible cause of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And what they were talking about, because nothing really matches in Alzheimer's. They'll look at one target and one thing, and they try to find something to help it, and it doesn't necessarily do everything. So in here, they were talking the tau proteins is one thing that's actually been kind of homed in on for Alzheimer's, but they were talking about how more it is like your beta amyloid that is interacting with the tau proteins and then making them not work right. So that's when they talked also in the article about autophagy and how as you age, autophagy definitely decreases. And because of that decrease of autophagy, your body is not cleaning out like it should, and that's probably one of the contributing factors of Alzheimer's. So that's why we decided to do the show, because of this article.
Yeah.
You have that amyloid plaque buildup, right?
Well,
in the brain.
They're talking about the beta amyloid is what they're talking about, yes.
But are the two related?
And then there's tau proteins.
Well, the tau proteins has actually got a lot of benefits to the brain. But this amyloid beta gets kind of involved in that plaque, gets misfolded, and when it does, it's kind of makes a mess out of things. It actually...
Tangled.
What?
It gets tangled.
It gets tangled.
Part of the verge of it.
As a matter of fact, they call them tangles. Yeah, that's what they call them.
Tangles, yeah.
We're not talking about the Disney movie Tangled.
Right.
So we just decided let's tell people what autophagy is and how they can help their own autophagy, because it does make a difference in aging, and it definitely makes a difference in health.
And this is something that I know that we talk about quite a bit here, because you guys are seeing this dementia Alzheimer's thing. It's showing up significantly more frequently than it has before. And
Definitely.
you've said many times it's showing up, symptoms of it are showing up in a much younger population.
All-cause mortality is on the rise, for sure. And I love that this concept, can be applied to so many different disease processes when we talk about plaque buildup, cardiovascular, fatty liver disease. We need autophagy to be able to function like it's supposed to, but there's so many factors that are stopping it from occurring like it had in centuries prior to this generation.
So how does I know the answer to this question, but for those folks that have no clue, how does one get into autophagy? How does this process start?
The cheapest, easiest way is to quit eating.
Well, but see, we got to do that though, right?
I know.
But people eat too much.
But they probably eat too much.
Too often.
But I mean, seriously, fasting, and that's why, we've talked, God, I don't know, 1,000 times at least about intermittent fasting. 12 to 20 hours or so in that range.
That's what they show it takes to get into autophagy.
It takes at least 12 hours.
At least 12 hours.
Yeah.
And to me, I think everyone should be not eating 12 hours a day. I mean, if you stop at 8 o'clock at night, don't eat till 8 o'clock in the morning, that's 12 hours. That's easy. That's why you're sleeping. That's what at night. You shouldn't be eating then. It's not what we see in a lot of people, but that's what you should be doing. Honestly, a little longer is better. We tell people about the intermittent fasting, start with not eating 8 hours, only eating 8 hours a day, and then try to make it 6. So, but
eating
6
Because
hours a day.
if you're eating too late, you're disrupting your sleep and you're disrupting these processes because sleep is where your brain goes through its cleaning system.
Yeah, my goal is like 7 p.m. is the latest I'm going to eat something because I typically don't get into bed until around 10.
Yeah.
So that gives me, I with reflux, I don't want to have to deal with anything there while I'm laying down.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. So that's a big, and then I don't have anything until I get up in the morning and have coffee. So, and that's not until usually around 7:30.
Yeah. So you're doing 12 hours.
Or better.
Even, 16 is even better. So there's no doubt the little bit longer you go, the better it does work.
Yeah, they've shown up to about 48 hours. And you go past that 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours. And then occasionally we get somebody that kind of gets hung up on it and say, well, if this is good, I'm going to do a whole bunch. And next thing you know, they're not eating for a week. Well, that's not good for you.
Right.
Because when you do that, what happens is you kind of weaken your immune system.
Right.
And it's
that
downhill
causes
from
a lot
that.
of problems.
And it causes a lot of problems.
Last time I did it, I made it to day 3. I was just drinking water.
Yeah.
And I noticed I was getting a little dizzy,
Yes.
and I was like, that means my blood sugar's bottoming out. But I'm going to tell you, then I ate a strawberry, and it was the best
strawberry in the world
I have ever had. Probably out of season, but it didn't matter. It wasn't dark red. It was just but it was so good.
And believe it or not, the fisetin that's in that strawberry helped your autophagy.
Man.
Yep.
It was, but I only had a handful of them, then I kept going for another 12 or 14 hours, and then I was like, okay, I'm good. And we kind of covered what it is and how it works and how one gets into it, but we didn't cover, so there's this theory called heat shock. There's a process with heat shock protein. Tell us about that.
Well, it's that sudden change, whether it's heat or cold, actually either one, and that's why saunas are so good for you. It's also why the cold, getting in the cold ice bath or do like I do, fall in the swimming pool in the wintertime. It works great.
That's a cold plunge.
It's a cold plunge, not intended, but it works. So you do those things. And what that does is sets off a specific kind of thing, what's called a heat shock, and it makes a certain protein. That sets off autophagy just immediately. So that's kind of the process. And, the saunas are much better than the cold plunges, I promise you. At least I think so.
They feel better.
They feel better, yeah, they're a lot better. But so that's kind of some of the things, one of the concepts about this autophagy is if we don't start it, we wind up with a bunch of old aged cells and we really rapidly age. Things begin to not work like they're supposed to. That's the downside to it. So it's well worth looking into it.
Like any chronic disease.
Yeah, any chronic disease.
So just anybody out there, if you're wanting to slow aging down and you're wanting to be healthier as you age, it's a good thing to try to do some of the things that help autophagy.
So how frequently do we need to be in this state? Like, do you say this should be
Daily.
like once a month?
Daily.
Daily.
But I'm talking about like fully hit reset, try a couple of days. When should we
Not everybody's going to tolerate doing several days of fasting or doing those extremes. I think for most people, it's better to implement daily, gentle interventions.
Well, like the intermittent fasting, things like that.
They've even shown if you go too hard, too fast, it's not actually good for you.
No.
Because then you can actually...
in anything, really. That's pretty general.
It can lower the immune system, and if you lower the immune system, that can actually be bad for disease state as well. So you just have to... we're not saying go all out and don't eat again. So that's not good either because you have to have food.
Yeah.
It's more about, I've always said for years, people eat too much. I mean, just plain and simple, most people eat too much. Yeah. And they think that you have to eat often. And that's kind of the misconception.
Well, that's what they were told for years and years and years.
Don't miss a meal.
Don't miss a meal. Eat six meals a day is better
Breakfast,
than 3.
smart meal.
And actually, 3's too many probably for most people.
I mean, I think when you're talking about like a handful of walnuts, pecan, if you're eating berries, if you're eating small snacks, that's
snacks
keeping
is one
your
thing,
body.
but even then, you don't even want those during that period.
Correct.
Of fasting.
Absolutely. Anything with calories.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
it takes about 150 calories to break that fast. So if you can eat a strawberry, no, it's not going to affect it. But eating like a bowl of strawberries, yeah, it's going to affect it.
Some Oreos and milk, that's going to
Most people are really slow themselves with the processed food.
Yeah, it really blows it, yeah. So,
Oreos aren't processed, they're just cookies.
And like I said, is people are not actually going into autophagy like they should.
Yeah.
And aging slows it down anyway. And with us seeing Alzheimer's on the rise, and I mean, when you look at the statistics on how many people they say are going to actually have dementia and Alzheimer's in the next 20 years, it's crazy. So something's got to change.
So we're not going to be able to say that those of us who don't have Alzheimer's are going to be able to take care of the people that do.
Yeah, right.
We don't have the economy to support that.
We don't have an economy to support it.
Between
and that's
kids
the
being
problem.
autistic and the actual adults having dementia, that's not a good thing. And like she said, our economy can't support taking care of everyone.
You got to take care of yourself. Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for taking care of.
Yes, exactly.
Is yourself.
Yeah.
It's yourself.
No one else can
He's always said for years, people take better care of their cars than they do of themselves. They change, especially these men out there, they're going to change the oil, they're going to change the tires, they're going to do stuff like that, but yet they don't do anything to help themselves.
I feel triggered.
And believe me, you can buy a new car a whole lot easier than you can buy a new body. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And like that's the thing is I take care of myself to the best of my ability, and I just don't know that if I get to a point where I can't, someone else is going to.
Right.
To do it to the same extent that I would.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It's like when we're going through this. When you take your kids to daycare, it's like you just have to remember that no one is ever going to take care of your child like you would.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You got to let that go. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing, though. When it comes to take care of yourself, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Because, like we've always said here on the show many times, if you don't set yourself up on the front end, it gets a lot harder on the back end. It gets a lot harder.
Some of the people that I see that have some of the worst problems are caretakers. And caretakers are so busy taking care of everybody else that they don't take care of themselves. And I always tell them, take care of yourself first, because who is going to take care of these other people if something happens to you? So I talk to caretakers every day. I seem to talk to a lot of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
What about supplements? You guys offer some supplements that help this autophagy state?
There's really some good supplements, and I mean, there's a whole list. And they're not necessarily the most expensive things in the world. I mean, things that, these things are something reasonable that you can do. There's foods and so on that you can do. Like we mentioned, there's a chemical in the strawberry called fisetin, and you can actually eat some strawberries, but do the organic ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, because strawberry that's not organic is probably one of the worst. It's dipped in glyphosate.
Pesticides.
Yeah.
And fisetin is one of those things, a lot of people hadn't heard of it.
Yeah.
And we have it in a few different products. We have fisetin in a product called Ox-LDL that lowers oxidation. And it's always good to lower oxidation also, because that actually helps with chronic disease and aging as well. And then we have something called Senolytic RX, which is specifically put together for autophagy. Now, it is a product for autophagy. You only take it 5 days out of the month. So it is one that you don't do daily because it's a very high dose of fisetin. So, there's different ways you can do it. Now, then you get into the supplements, the resveratrol, which, gosh, we've talked about resveratrol all the time. Great anti-aging, great anti-cancer, helps with autophagy, good for bone density. I mean, you start looking, resveratrol has so many beneficial qualities. Quercetin. Green tea.
Green tea. There's a compound in green tea that is just phenomenal for us, and you get you can get a little bit of it out of dark tea as well. So, kind of nicks the sweet tea thing. But if you'll drink it without all the sugar and so on in it, you do much better. So,
Man, who does that?
Yeah, I know. But there's a green tea extract that really works good, the ECGC, and it works great.
And even your omega-3s, which we talk about omega-3s all the time, it has some of the benefits. This might not be the strongest for autophagy, but
it helps with inflammation.
Yeah, it definitely has been shown to help.
And then you got me interested in rapamycin, and you said there was a relationship between that and fisetin.
Yes.
That was really interesting literature there.
Yeah, we're really getting deep here now. But it is. I mean, it really is. It's kind of interesting how this stuff does get deep. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a deep, deep, deep well. But once you understand it and you realize, if I just do these minor things, I can be a lot better off. I think everybody can do this.
A lot of your polyphenols actually help with autophagy.
Right.
And a lot of these that we've mentioned are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question here. We're going to get to this question right now. It says, I am a 76-year-old woman and don't know why I'm losing weight. I went from 147 to 138. What can I do to gain weight?
First off, you need to find out why you're losing. Then some lab work would be the best way to do that, to see if there's anything major going on. because that's seriously, that's one of the first signs
If you
that
haven't
weight loss.
changed your diet
Right.
and you're losing weight, then you got to figure out why.
Yeah, there's a reason.
It's not something to sleep on. Definitely want to investigate a little.
Right.
That's
And you
true.
don't want to just do a CBC and a CMP.
No.
That might not be enough to tell you. You want to check thyroid. You want to check adrenals. You want to check, you want to make sure you're not anemic. You want to make sure you want to see a wide variety of tests to see what's going on. So actually our weight loss panel is the same panel we do if somebody is losing weight, because the same things that can make weight gain can make weight loss go in the opposite direction. And you also got to really pay attention to, did you change something in your diet? Did you have something done to your teeth and you hadn't been able to chew as well? Things like that make a difference, and people don't think of it sometimes. So that's why we ask a lot of questions when you come in too. We do.
All right, we kind of covered how autophagy works and how to get into
Yep.
it. You mentioned something earlier. There's another service that you offer, a treatment that you offer that is also helps with autophagy.
Yeah, the red light therapy. Now, red light therapy is so good. How it works with autophagy is it actually helps your mitochondria, and the mitochondria play a vital role in autophagy. So it is just basically helps your mitochondria. And what is aging? It's a slowdown of the mitochondria. So if you can actually stimulate and preserve the mitochondria, you can actually help with many things.
You sure can.
Yeah.
A lot of these patients with the diffuse symptoms, it comes down to impaired mitochondrial function.
Exactly.
And we help support those pathways in various ways. But the red light is one that we have available in the store that is very effective.
Yep.
Very.
The only thing with the red light is you have to be able to get in and out of the bed by yourself. And it sounds easy, but some people it is not. So that's why I do tell people you have to be able to be a little bit mobile in order to be able to get in it.
Does it look like a tanning bed?
It does.
So for those of you that don't know what the tanning beds are, that used to be a thing back in the
It
day.
used
But
to.
it's like it just
And
doesn't
it does look like it. It is not a tanning bed, and you will not get a tan, and you will not get the bad rays that are bad for you. So you will not get that. But it does look like it. And the one that we have is curved, and so to get into it without, falling over. But most people can, but every once in a while I hit somebody that cannot. Yeah.
Right.
But we have so many things that are just daily hygiene, things that you can implement. We have supplements, so no matter where you are, don't be discouraged. If you're older, there are options that can help improve autophagy and get you functioning better, whatever system is failing.
That's right. Wherever you are, we got a place to start. Even if it's something as simple stuff like your lifestyle stuff. Do that. Anybody can do the intermittent fasting. That's a starting point.
Yeah, even if you, like I said, 12 hours. That is not even that hard to do. And then if you're okay with that, then go a little farther. But like I said, you don't have to go really fast. You don't have to do everything. And some people do like saunas. Some people do like the cold plunges.
Some people like high intensity exercise,
Right.
but even just a walk is beneficial if that's not available.
It is, but it takes a lot more of it. Here's the thing.
And then part of the brain clean out is they call it the lymphatic drainage.
Right. We did a whole show on that.
Yeah, we've done a whole show before on lymphatic drainage. And that is one of the things is it cleans out the brain. And even something simple like something that actually makes vibration plates, it has been shown to increase lymphatic drainage and lymphatic drainage, so both. So it can actually help with that clean out. And really, you just stand on it for 10 minutes a day.
passive way.
And you
it's
can,
very
if you can't
passive.
stand, you don't have the balance, you sit. So there's always something you can do. There's always a place to start. Because I have had people that come in their 80s and they did do the vibration plate and they said, well, at first I had to sit on it. Now I'm standing there and I don't have any problem with my balance now because I've gotten used to it. And it does help with balance in the long run. So that gives you somewhere to start.
Yeah.